Thanks to our colleague Hadil for a wonderful report. And now, from that report to another place. As a fact, IOM works to help ensure the orderly and humane management of migration to promote international cooperation on migration issues, to assist in the search for practical solutions to migration problems, and to provide humanitarian assistance to migrants in need, including refugees and internally displaced people, Farid.
Absolutely. Specifically, the IOM office in Kuwait was established in 1991, and in 2017, the state of Kuwait joined IOM as an observer state. Since its establishment, the office was worked in close partnership with the government of Kuwait, also including staff of the government-run shelter for female migrant workers who are potential victims of trafficking and exploitation. Let's all welcome Mr. Mazen Abul Hassan, Chief of Mission International Organization for Migration, IOM Kuwait. Good morning, Mr. Mazen, and it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Good morning, and thanks for hosting me.
It is a pleasure to host you here with us, Mr. Mazen. Could you please tell us a little bit about the IOM in Kuwait? What does it work for?
Absolutely. As you have already mentioned, we have been in the country for more than 30 years now. Wow. And we are mainly working on several topics related to migration, including labor migration, which is something very important in the Gulf countries where many of the people come to look for work. Yes. We are working also on the migrant protection, including the counter-trafficking that you have referred to. And all this work we have been doing for several years in partnership with different institutions from the government, being Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Information, any institution from the government that are dealing with labor, with migrants, we are working very closely with them.
Nice.
That's really nice.
Absolutely. So basically, let's say your job, we're talking about women in Kuwait, or no, it's like other countries?
Well, we are working basically on two sides. The first side, we are working on the laborers that are in Kuwait, because for us, all the labor people who are here, especially on the migration side, are within our mandate. But also we are working with displaced people and people affected by the crisis outside Kuwait. And Kuwait is one of the donors from the Gulf country who's supporting our operation outside. And this partnership has been for a long time with Kuwait.
For example, in Yemen and
Absolutely.
Syria.
We are covering Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan. We have operation in more than 140 countries around the world.
That's amazing.
Cool. That's really amazing, Farid.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, what does the definition of xenophobia?
The xenophobia.
Xenophobia stands for?
Well, the xenophobia is one of the concepts of the issues that the world has been facing for a long time. And basically, it's when someone is fearful or scared from the other.
Yes.
And this is happening through the history, but recently we are witnessing it more, especially with the social media. Yes. When everyone now can go to the social media, they can comment, and sometimes these negative comments can lead to the hate speech. And the targets can be the vulnerable people. And we have witnessed this during the COVID pandemic, when so many people were referring to the migrants as the source of the pandemic, when so many people were stating some of the negative comments on the social media. And this is one of the concepts that we are trying to work very closely around the world against it, especially with the media, because we believe that the media has a very important role to raise awareness about the others and to understand, because a lot of time we have misinformation. And when people, they don't do a double check for the facts, when people, they don't research more about the situation, they always have this kind of fear or scared from the others.
Yes, indeed. So the xenophobist, and we know that a lot of people are like that, and we can see that the IOM really helps others, because those fears, those things, they have no establishment, they have no base. because these are the people we want to
The
reach
Rohingya,
out
for
for.
example.
So can you tell us a little bit? This is in Mozambique, right?
Sure. Well, what we are seeing now on the screen is a video that we published last year celebrating 70 years of our establishment.
Yes.
And it's captured all the work that we are doing. And the work that we are doing can be on the humanitarian side that you have mentioned, for example, the Rohingya or others. We work a lot on the humanitarian side in crisis and war and disaster and earthquakes, but also we work with the governments in order to make sure that the policies are in place to address anything related to migration.
Yeah. And if we want to say about, you just said about the effects, we know that 70 years, they were World War I and the Second World War, but now this is a pandemic and the effect of the COVID-19 of the migration. I think it really accelerated, didn't it?
Absolutely. The COVID-19 was one of the crises that we witnessed a lot in the migration field, especially that many of the migrants were stranded in some of the country.
Yes.
They couldn't leave for several years. Some of them have lost their job. In some of the country, they were not having access to public health. They were not having access to vaccination. So all these are factors that have exacerbated the situation of migrants around the world.
So I want to go back, please, Mr. Hassan. Let's go and talk Africa.
Yeah.
You see, this is a huge issue, and I want to be more frank with you.
Sure.
And, you know, open. Unfortunately, there is another, you know, opinion out there. It's not mine. I'm just trying, you know, to play the devil's advocate. Anyway, saying or stating that your NGOs or United Nations, which consists of, you know, some European countries, who were the main cause of this agony in the African continent, okay? So in the first place, and now they are trying to fix it, you know. I mean, but, you know, after a huge destruction, you know, I mean, when you come across this, you know, definitely you came across African citizens, you know, from, I mean, let's face it, how would you respond to that, you know?
Well, this is a very important question, and it's very controversial as well.
Yeah,
absolutely, because don't forget that when we deal with the international relations, when we work with UN, we work on several layers. There is a political layer that we are not involved in, and then you have the humanitarian layer and the development layer that is mainly our mandate and the cause why we are working. It's very important that in Africa there were so many things that happened throughout the centuries and the decades, and sometimes now the population are paying the price. So our main role now is to advocate for peace and security and to work toward the development and the humanitarian assistance. And that's why the United Nations has established the Sustainable Development Goals. Because one of the Sustainable Development Goals, for example, goal number 16, is talking about peace and the justice and the strong institutions. And without the strong institutions and without the peace and the justice that should come from so many countries in terms of the advocacy and support, we cannot establish any development in these countries.
Yeah.
So talking about Africa and the African people, they do have a lot of resources. And our role as the International Organization for Migration mainly and the UN is to advocate for the peace and security in these countries, but also to help this population for a better future and development, learning from the history and from what happened in the past, be it in the negative side or the positive side.
Beautiful point. But when you say they have resources, they have natural resources in their country, yeah. When we go to Europe, you know, and definitely you've been there, we've been all there,
Indeed.
you know, yet we see them seeking refugee status in their country, you know, and when you look at this is an irony, you know, this well-known European country, you know, taking them as refugees. I mean,
well, it depends, again, because the migration is a very complex issue. Sometimes people have the right to go and apply for asylum for economic reason or for political reason. And some of these European countries as well, they are in need of the labor because they are aging population, sometimes with the technology.
Exactly.
So that's why each country, they do have a plan or they do have a policy in place in order to see what the market needs, and based on that, they can attract some of the skilled people. Sometimes they are skilled, sometimes some of the jobs they don't need skilled people. So the policy of migration and labor migration is depending on the needs of each country. And some of the people from different places in the world, they are seeking to have a better economic opportunity. And that's why we are seeing the number of migrants around the world increasing.
Absolutely, but Amal, speaking of that, okay, why not become like Canada?
Yes.
They don't have to occupy any, country. They don't have to, be
in a place.
In others countries occupying them and taking advantage of their resources. Yet they accept a lot of migration.
Well, depend on the context where we are, because Canada is a country that somehow is new comparing to others, and it was not involved in the history in the World One or Second or so many of these. So we do hope that many of the countries around the world will be like Canada.
We hope they would adapt and take the Canada's politicians as in mind. If we want to talk a little bit about GOK, and we know that they have supported IOM in the humanitarian. Can you tell us a little bit about that collaboration?
Absolutely. The collaboration with the government of Kuwait on the humanitarian front has been ongoing for several years. At least for the last 10 years, Kuwait was very supportive to our operation. As we have mentioned before, in Yemen, in Syria, in Afghanistan, in so many places where we have the humanitarian need, Kuwait was always in the front to support. Like in 2013, they have hosted also the pledging conference for Syria. They have supported us with funding, but also with advocacy for a better future for these countries because of their nature and the diplomacy that they are using with their international relations. It's very important for us to be partner with Kuwait, that we are always relying on their generous contribution for our humanitarian operation, because without this we cannot operate outside and provide the humanitarian needs that are much needed for people that are displaced or affected by war and the crisis.
Amazing. So the source of income, it's basically donation of other countries.
Absolutely, because we are an international organization that have so many member states. So the member states, through their programs, especially on the humanitarian fund or the development fund, they are the one providing us their financial contribution for us to implement programs according to the needs of the people.
And here's the question.
Yes.
Well, Farid is looking for trouble today.
No,
well, he will put me in trouble.
No, honestly, Mr. Mazer, we love you.
Thank you. Same here.
You are
Thank you.
honestly, you are doing
great effort.
Angel job. That's appreciated in our hearts. We love people like you, honestly. But the thing is, sometimes people donate and comes with conditions and some demands under the table. I hope there's none of that.
No, for us, the most important thing is that the goal is to provide the humanitarian assistance without any agenda. And this is something very important. And this is part of the UN humanitarian, also the principles that we are following.
Future collaboration?
Well, the future collaboration, we will continue working with Kuwait on the Sustainable Development Goal to achieve whatever is in the Kuwait Vision 2035. And also we aim to continue the collaboration on the humanitarian fund and Kuwait support for the countries in need in terms of the humanitarian assistance.
That really is great. We thank you, Mr. Mazen, because I know how and what are you doing, the efforts that the IOM really put out there. I have seen it firsthand. I have seen how you go there, you search for the refugees, you try to give them the best that you can have until the resources, with the politicians, with the COVID, with the pandemic, with everything. You are trying, and the people who works with you are really doing well. And Kuwait is trying to give the best that it can to help others. Thank you a lot. Our guest here, Mazen Abul Hassan, Chief of Mission International Organization for the Migration, IOM in Kuwait. Thanks a lot for that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I hope our questions weren't that heavy burden on you.
You are always welcome, and we are always ready to collaborate with your program.
We love
Thank you so much.
You guys are really doing a great job, and it will count on the Judgment Day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Dear viewers, that's it, and we'll go for a break after that. Please stay tuned. We have beautiful and interesting segments like the one we were doing now, and please after this break. We are back and we're still in Good Morning Kuwait, dear viewers. Embassy of India and Kuwait, in association with the Marine Products Export Development Authority, MPEDA, India organized a virtual buyer-seller meet on export of marine products to Kuwait on 6th of January 2022. The meet was in follow-up of the buyer-seller meet on marine products held exactly a year ago on 6th January 2021.
Yes, indeed. His Excellency Shuri C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Kuwait, in his remarks complimented the positive impact of the engagement with MPEDA since last year that has shown a steady increase in the export of marine products from India to Kuwait. And to know more, how about we have this phone call with His Excellency Shuri C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Kuwait. And hello and good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador.
Good morning.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Good, good, good. First of all, we are really honored, Mr. Ambassador, to have Your Excellency on the other side. And we hope to see you in the studio next time in the future, definitely in Good Morning Kuwait. So let's, roll on. And Your Excellency, what was this event about?
The focus of this meeting was to increase the sourcing of marine products from India to Kuwait, and also to explore the various ways of a smoother export procedure for importing goods to Kuwait from India. An interactive session between the buyers and the sellers was followed by, remarks by experts. They shared the details of their products and the offers. So the embassy has been doing this for some time now as part of our efforts to promote the trade link between our two countries. The meeting focus for this particular meeting was the marine products.
Absolutely, Mr. Ambassador. The link and the strong ties between Kuwait and India goes really far away,
Yes.
before, like 100 years.
200 years.
200 years.
It's been 200 years from Kuwait and India. They have great ties. Your Excellency, we know that we share a lot in history as well as in traditions, but what about the trade? What's the volume of the trade between India and Kuwait?
In fact, we have excellent trade relations between our two countries. As you said, this is a traditional, age-old relationship. And trade is a very important aspect of our relationship. Before the start of COVID situation, we had around $11 billion worth of trade between the two countries. During the COVID, of course, because the export of oil products have come down, so it has come down a bit, but now we are again on the way back to the original situation of our trade products. So I am hopeful that this year again we will have a trade of $10 billion between the two countries.
Well,
and I could see that even during the difficult times of COVID, there has been a steady increase in the export of marine products from India to Kuwait. India exports fish, prawns, and crabs to Kuwait. And there has been an increase of these products in the last 1 year.
Definitely, Mr. Ambassador, you guys have all the ocean, the Indian Ocean there, and it's full of treasure, definitely. If we talk about, the Indian products, we are a nation well aware of the Indian products and the Indian trade. So any future agenda, Mr. Shuri C.B. George, Ambassador of India?
Thank you very much. This year we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Kuwait. We have a series of events planned, and we would like to do this as part of what I call 3 T's. That is trade, tourism, and technology.
Absolutely.
We will have more events despite the challenges of COVID. Of course, we will follow all the COVID protocol, and we will do it as virtual events. But we will have many events focusing on trade, promoting tourism, and technology. We have a lot of talented, skilled people who are bringing technology and exchanging technology. So there is this three T's: trade, tourism, and technology is my focus for 2022.
Well, this is great. Three
Amazing.
T's, the TTT, technology,
That's right,
trade, and tourism. Thank you a lot, Your Excellency Shri Sibi George, Ambassador of India to Kuwait, and we wish to meet you soon here in the studio of Good Morning Kuwait to elaborate about those relations and those 60 years of diplomatic relations.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah. So
60 years.
60 years. And
diplomatic relations, you see, and the relation is more than that. It's 200 years, in fact.
I believe more than 200 years.
Well, yes, it is. But
you know, Mumbai is well known.
We have a lot of Kuwaiti families who reside in Mumbai and Delhi and Agra and Goa.
You guys in Felice Island, you know that better than a lot of people.
Well, we are related. We have a lot of our family members who are married from India. So yes, we have those relations, and we really have a lot in traditions as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll go to a break, and after that, what do we have? We have, I think, another
interesting and really great guest, but not now. After the break, so stay tuned.
Again, we are in Good Morning Kuwait. She's full of energy like an electric spark, a colleague of ours that assists in a lot with a new year, a new beginning. Isra will continue teaching us how to do new things.
Yes, indeed. And you know what? She have what to do to give us a little bit of hints here and there. So instead of going and buying stuff, Isra will show us in the coming segment how to make the candles. So let's check them out.
Today is my first segment, and I'll be talking about different kinds of candles, such as the soya candle, jelly candle, and paraffin candle. Let's go and have a look. Our first segment for today is the soya candle. Okay, we can use it for lots of things, such as